we hear a variety of claims, whether either lots of people are leaving or no one's leaving at all, and this is all very overblown.
I've heard those claims too, and I've been obsessed with understanding what is going on because we do not want to leave this country. We love it here. And with our advisors, they're saying you cannot stay here. So any tax advisors we have in the UK and abroad, because we have multiple businesses in multiple countries, we are advised we must leave the UK. There's no other choice. Being taxed on worldwide income, paying tax in those countries, being taxed on the inheritance tax just does not make any sense to stay.
It seems that if you earn something above 325,000, they tax you 40%. So let's say if the house is 750,000, okay, and you get $500,000 free taxables or whatever. If your parents are going to give you that house, that means what is left is 250. So that 250 is taxed, and that is 40%.
And having a cap of 4 years when you can stay in a country and then you're not sure what's going to happen after those 4 years, but it's like having a penalty. You stay for 4 years, invest all your money, and then we're going to really get you. So we don't have much choice but to leave. And Italy's the closest place, so we're off to Italy.
The person listening who says you do have a choice, you could pay more.
We could pay more, but it doesn't make any sense as a business person. And all of those billionaires and millionaires like us that are leaving the country, and I do not believe those numbers are made up. They could be underestimated or overestimated, but there are multiple places that are saying these are the numbers. So anywhere between 7,500 and 12,500 and 16,500 have left the country since this announcement.
Emma, talk to us about then the wealth creation element of this. Is this a country in which people are encouraged to feel able to create that wealth?
I can only speak on behalf of myself. I spent half my time in the US and half my time in the UK. I used to be shy, retiring. I didn't say a word to anybody till I was 29. As you can hear, that's changed. That's changed significantly, and now you can't shut me up. But, you know, over that time, I can honestly say that probably I've been told that I'm such an American Brit when I talk about being ambitious or wanting to build a business or wanting to build an empire. Now, I will say for people that I totally understand. I think we're all empathetic people, and you can understand where people come from. But I think in life, it's always important to be competitive. You don't have to be the best, the finest, the most reasonable, but you have to be competitive. I think, you know, what I got from Anne is she's saying just that UK is not competitive. And for anyone calling in, I bet if they do their weekly shop at Tesco's and it is up, 50% cheaper in Sainsbury's, they're going to Sainsbury's because that's the prudent thing to do. And as best I can understand, that's what people like Anne are talking about doing, and what I can understand that.
Io is in Romford. Hi, Io. Your question to the panel, my friend?
Hello, millionaires. I want to be a millionaire one day.
Can you imagine you live in a society that the culture is, oh my God, you're ambitious? Why do you want to be a millionaire? We're going to tax you to make sure we don't have any more millionaires in this country.
I've got a business too. I'm building it slowly but surely. But my question is to you guys, right, is the country is in a mess. It's clear that we don't have any money. We need money for education, defense, etc., etc., etc. So if you guys are saying, I'm going to go off to another country, I don't want to pay tax, who should pay? Because I think Keir Starmer has got a very difficult job, and actually I think the country as a whole are looking to people like you to put your hand in your pocket and pay a little bit more. So that's the first part of the question. Just next.
All right, well, wait there. We'll get to part two in a minute. Let's start on part one. Anne, come on, pay up.
We do want to pay tax, and I think they should reach into our wallets and take the money out of our wallets. But taxing on worldwide income does not make any sense. Putting the inheritance tax in place for people that have moved to this country because in the late 1700s there was a regime that does make sense. It is very competitive. We can go to another country, but instead of us paying 200,000 to go to Italy per annum, have us pay 200,000 pounds to stay in the UK. That would put $12.5 billion into the genes of the government right now. So why not do that? Tax us, take our money, but not in a way that doesn't make sense for any intelligent business person to stay in this country.
Venga, dilo. Remember to subscribe. Remember, I don't consider myself intelligent, but my point is, it does feel like the government doesn't like people that can stand for themselves sometimes.
Well, I'm not, au fait with the ins and outs of all the actual tax laws.
But you're a business guy. You're building a business. If someone says to you, we're going to tax you on your profits in a business that is operating overseas as well as your business here, would you think that was fair?
I think it depends on how much and why and for how long, and there's a lot of nuances there.
But if your business is going to go under, or if you're going to be paying ridiculous amount of tax where it doesn't make any sense whatsoever on your corporations that you've set up, and my husband's employees, he has 3,000 employees in a manufacturing business. Are we to pay tax on that? It would make no business sense. Take our money, have us invest in the UK, make that a requirement, create jobs in the UK. But
I don't want your business to go under, definitely. Like, obviously, I don't want the government. There's a fine line in that, Aya. There's a fine line in that.
I don't want you to lose your job, but I want to make sure that even if you have your job, you feel the same pain that I'm feeling. This guy approves of double taxes. What do I mean by that? You have a house, you pay taxes, right? So if you use your money to buy a house in another country, you need to pay those taxes too. Even if in that other country, you're paying taxes.
My question, right, was this. You guys have made your money in the UK. You've made a significant amount of money in the UK. You've used the roads. You've used the education system with the people you employ, university graduates, healthcare, all of this. And now you've made all this money. It just seems like you lot just want to go off now. Like, you want to take all the money and just go off. That's what the average person in the street, I think, would kind of feel like. It feels a bit
we don't want to go off. We want to stay here and continue paying the taxes and continue having my 100 employees at our castle paying taxes in the UK. I don't want to leave.
100 employees in the castle?
Forced.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got to say, I was going to say that you're building a business, IO, so I was going to say go IO, but now I'm going to say IO. I mean, you've suddenly gone down a little bit of a tricky route there. You've made the suggestion that none of us want to pay tax, that we don't want to stay in the country, that we built our businesses here and now we can't be bothered to support the country. First of all, I don't think you know anything about me, but I did build my business here. I'm not going anywhere. But I also, if I did build a business in another country, wouldn't feel it was fair to be taxed here for that as well as paying tax overseas. It's not fair or reasonable, and most other countries don't do it. So I think if you want to call and suggest that all of us are that way inclined, best that you check your facts before you do about what it is that we're all aiming to fight for here, because that's not fair.
Richard?
I think I'd actually disagree with my fellow panel, because if it's fair, I think global tax is fair. It's fair. I think that's fair. There's a massive, the distribution, the inequality of income and wealth is widened dramatically. So you can understand there's a lot of calling out for people to collect tax where they can. I think it's fair, but unfortunately, if IO, if someone was going to invest in your, the problem is IO, if you want an investor in your business and you could get someone from overseas and they were going to put in £1 million, let's just make up a number, into your business, and you said to them, this person's from Canada, or Australia, like me, come into the country, we'll give you this deal. You pay plenty of tax, but you don't pay quite as much as you maybe should. But on the other hand, you're going to put £1 million into my business. What do, IO? You take that money. And unfortunately, that's the situation the UK is in. When every other country in the world is competing, or many countries in the world are competing by offering very favourable tax regimes, we have to compete. Now, it's not a matter of fairness, right? All the wealthy people wandering around Knightsbridge may not be fair, right? But it's good for the UK economy because they are creating jobs and putting money in. It's not a question of fairness. It's a question of what will work.
I think once all millionaires or billionaires start realizing you guys don't give an F, they're just gonna bounce. And once that implodes, and people are like, yeah, but you're not making enough babies. That's why we need to help these people. We need to give them money. One time that money is gonna run dry. Once that happens, UK is gonna be hard times. And hard times create strong people that you don't like, unless you can silence them on social media.
Hi, Tom. I guess I'm just wondering why you don't feel like you need to pay your fair share of tax when the majority of the population is struggling for paying bills and food.
I don't know whether you can see this on the app, Alex, but the contortions of faces from the panel are extraordinary. Richard, why don't you pay your fair share, says Alex.
What's a fair share? So I think, isn't it 1% of the taxpayers pay 25 or 50% of the tax?
The top 1% are liable for about 28.5% of income tax. That is almost at the peak. The peak was 30.7% in 2021. Alex, what does fair mean?
I think it's fair based on the level of income that you amass and you acquire. So yes, you may pay the majority of tax compared to most people, but the amount that you pay based on how much you earn, it doesn't even touch the sides.
If you're a very disciplined person and you manage to earn enough money and invest it and here and there and you have way more property than other people, we need to tax you because you're disciplined, because you don't need the government, and other people need to feel as if they're at the same level with the government. You're like the little brother that always needs the big brother to drive him by a car.
Well, then how much do you pay on tax? If you're a
How do you
non-dom,
know? You just made a really strong statement. I'd love to know, because I don't like people to misunderstand me. And I wasn't contorting, I was eye-rolling. You've got no idea how much tax I pay. So you've just told us we don't pay our tax, which is really offensive. And
I didn't say you didn't pay your tax. I said you didn't pay your fair share of tax.
How do you know?
Well, because it's based on your own statement. You're saying that 1% pay 30% of all tax. But you also have to ask the question of why are you in that position where the 1% are paying the 30%? Because you have been able to amass wealth over the years, or for how long it is, while the rest of us have barely been able to climb up the ladder just to make ends meet.
Why do you think they can amass health? Who is making you poor? The rich person or the government? The government has to do something about that. No, they don't. They let them buy and create consequence and remind you the rich people are making you poor. It's not the rich people. I mean, in a way they are, but not the way you're suggesting it.
As many times as you probably, Alex. I run a business. I don't come from money, and I started from scratch. I have grown a business at our size and scale. I do employ a lot of people, and we are doing quite well. So you're making a lot of assumptions there. I think
not really.
What I'm understanding, allow me, Alex, as we listen to your question, what I'm understanding is you've got your own in your head definition of fair, and you've decided, because we all work really hard and have built businesses, that whatever we're doing isn't fair, and I reject that.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's just a Google away. You can see the rates. Imagine just because you earn more than 50,000 or 125,000, you're already paying 40% of your earnings compared to other people that pay way less. And then you want to point the finger, you are so privileged. Why am I poor? I'm like, maybe they make better decisions. Maybe the government need to teach you how to live in the moment and not waste your money partying, drinking, making babies, and then complain, I need money from the government to live well. And then still, if the government helps you, you're rich. Maybe they make better decisions. What about that?
I mean,
hang on a sec, Alex. Let Alex speak.
Apologies.
Alex, we are paying our fair share of taxes. We pay tax in the UK based on what everyone else does in the same tax bracket as us. We pay tax on money that we bring in. We are paying our taxes. So where that statement comes from, it is not fair.
I would dispute it by saying that you don't pay it based on, again, the amount of wealth you get, because we pay by PAYE, whereas you pay on the amount of assets you own. And
I pay PAYE.
non-dom specifically.
So again, you're making an assumption, Alex.
No. It's based on your PAYE, but you are still acquiring income through asset wealth and other property wealth and things that you have abroad, which gives you more social mobility, gives you the ability to make political movements that a lot of people can't do. And again,
But what is wrong with that, Alex? If we have manufacturing companies and we have businesses and assets worldwide that we've paying taxes in those countries, but I have bought a castle here, 5 houses, properties. I'm investing in this country, bringing money into this country, and I'm paying tax on all of that.
Well,
so why should
how are you
I be
investing in
double
this country if you're not paying, like if you're paying a non-dom tax, which is at a flat rate, as opposed to the amount of
I'm paying tax.
wealth?
I actually am employed in this country and paying tax. Alex, I'm employed in this country. I pay tax in this country. I pay tax as fair as anyone else in this country.
I mean, I would dispute that just based on, like, the level of wealth.
You're just disputing that because you just don't like rich people and you're angry. And finally, I think you're going to get a reaction. I mean, I can understand you can be frustrated, but the whole idea you can say, yeah, but you have a business and you're earning money with that business. Do you know how hard it is to maintain a business these days?
How would you be able to dispute that, Alex, without knowing Anne's invoices?
Because anyone that can, I can't say the numbers, but I can say based on...
You're disputing it because she's wealthy.
No.
Is what you're doing.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, he's coming for you.
Well, no, because the level of wealth that you'll be able to acquire can only be obtained through public exploitation and exploitation of the public realm.
Oh, Alex,
by using our services and our people.
I resent that, Alex. I have in multiple degrees. I have built a large corporation. I write algorithms. I sold a business that does algorithms and predetermining consumer credit. And you're telling me that I have done this on the back of being unfair to people?
I would say based on the level
and I paid
of...
tax when I sold that business. I paid 40% tax on that.
I'm not saying that you should be destitute or you shouldn't have a level of luxury.
That's
I'm not trying
nice.
to take away from
that's
that.
nice,
but
though.
what I'm trying to say is that for people who don't have the networks, the connections, the family connections that help you get into...
My family
did not have
didn't
family
and the
connections,
ability
Alex.
to set up those businesses. A lot of people want to set up businesses, but they can't because they don't know people, and they can't know people because they're stuck in social
networks. In business,
you
you
can't
create
networks if your family can't give you a level of wealth to help you get
Alex,
there.
I moved out when I was 14
Okay,
years old, Alex.
I'm going to...
Ladies and gentlemen, you guys can go look up this lady Anna Mulholland or something like that. But she has 8 children and she does not come from a wealthy family. The whole idea that somebody can say all this stuff, you had hell, bada bing, bada bum, maybe that discipline. Do you know how hard it is to have 8 children and become a freaking millionaire? It's not easy. And I'm sure somebody say, yeah, what about the husband? I'm sure the husband had the same thing. What are you talking about? Yes, bad people exist, but whenever we see rich people protect the rich people, most of them find it unfair because they didn't inherit anything. And now you're telling them, pay up. Of course they're going to be loud, talk to you. Who are you to talk to me like that? Like usually you attack the person that is proving to you that you can be like them.
Can I just, what you say has a few flaws in it. Okay, for my own story, I went through, I think we talked, I went through an orphanage. I'm one of 11. I was born in the outback of Australia. I was taken into care when I was 3 years old. I went through an orphanage and then I grew up in the care system. I left the care system when I was 18, completely penniless. I had to get a job. I had to go to university at night, and then I went into central banking and did it the hard way. So for you to turn around and say that to me, you can understand it doesn't rest that comfortably. Every single penny I've made completely honourably, and everyone I've employed has been on very good terms and very, very happy to have the job. And for example, I've restored a business here called Home House, which is a Georgian masterpiece, which has been turned into an operating business. We sold it, but that was restored. It used to store the Queen's Art Collection. Prince Charles, King Charles came to the opening. He was so happy that this building, which had sat derelict, empty for 12 years, was restored. No British person had done it. I arrived from the shores of Australia and restored it. That would not have happened. That created 100 jobs overnight. Everyone was very, very happy, and they still shake my hand and smile at me when I walk in there.
Alex?
Well, yeah, because you're their boss. So.
You serious?
I mean, like, again...
I'm not their boss. We sold the business 7 or 8 years ago.
You sold the business now, but you were their boss at that point.
Oh, so they have to smile at me. They were so happy to have a job. We paid well. We did everything very well.
I mean, you can't... I don't know if you can speak for everyone the same way I can't speak for you.
Yo man, I don't have a mom since I'm 7 years old. My dad also passed away very young. So in the end, I've been doing everything by myself with the one eye that I have. I studied in Holland. I ate peanut butter and jelly for 6 years because I couldn't cook. I lived more than 11 hours away from my parents, studying alone, doing everything by myself. I met a woman that was a super gangster feminist and I was a Christian. We still could find a middle ground. I never asked her to go to church, but after 10 years, she saw that the church made me so happy without me inviting and forcing her and telling her about God. She suddenly realized, you know what? I think I'm happier with the way you're living. I'm gonna try it out. And now she's a happy Christian. Now we're happy together. We married. We have 2 kids. We're doing everything happy. And guess what? I think she's very happy. Imagine if somebody just told me, yeah, that's because you're a man. What? I would never want you to judge me on how to be a good father.
I can't speak for you based
you've
on
lost
yourself.
this debate. I'm sorry, you've lost this debate.
Well, I mean, as somebody who is disabled, can't work and is on the welfare, I'm the one of the people that people despise the most.
The moment you said you're disabled, I can totally understand where you're coming from. But guess what? I'm supposed to be disabled too. And guess what? They ain't helping me. You know why? I have no idea. But I think there is a probability that so many people are disabled right now in Spain. They have been giving that away like Skittles, and now it's hard to find the real one because so many abused it. And I just accept it. And I try to have a plan B. Like tell my wife, hey man, I think you're strong and independent. Could you also work a little so we have a plan B? And I try to tell her, I don't want you to stay at home. She wanted to stay at home. She still worked. She got so many opportunities and she took advantage. She wanted to go higher? No, because then she would go away from the family. She just want to stay middle chill class. And we're doing great. But sometimes you need to make those decisions to survive in a market if you pay attention. But if you want to just chill and hope the government helps you, I'm not surprised you're disabled with that opinion because you're hoping for the government to help you while you're watching other people enjoying a life that you want, but maybe you don't want to take the necessary steps that they had to do if they were disabled or not.
Why do we despise anyone? We don't despise anyone.
I think I'd love to say one thing because it sounds like,
Alex,
you sound quite upset. So I'm going to say one thing. First of all, we've heard everyone's story here. My family are Eastern European refugees. I certainly don't come from money. I speak quite well because my dad worked really hard to send me to an incredible private school that cost too much money for them at the time. I'm really sorry that you're angry. My dad also is an entrepreneur. He started from nothing, built business out of Luton, and every year donates 50 wheelchairs to children. And so I think you have to stop being so... I personally think it would be great for you to stop being so angry with people you don't know, because I don't think you're being fair to us, because all of us would be very fair to you.
Alex, thank you for getting involved. The thing that Alex said there that I do think touches on a lot of people's anger is when he described the three of you as not like the rest of us. And I think there is a broad assumption that because you are wealthy, you haven't come from the rest of us. You have come from something else, a different sort of type of person that isn't from the country or of the place that you have come from. You've been, incredibly fortunate or had some form of luck that others haven't. Do you see that do you see your wealth as being a divisive issue for you in the country in which you live, Richard?
I see the inequality of wealth as a problem. I think it is tough. It is tough out there, and it is tough. There's this cost of living crisis, and as I said, even if you got a good university degree, you can still struggle. It's hard for anyone to buy a young person to buy a home. I can understand that people are unhappy, but as I say, we will just drive away the wealth creators or stop people taking risk if you cut the whole thing off at the beginning.
I see that that people are it's very divisive. I feel like because I'm wealthy, I never even think of myself as wealthy. I'm told I'm wealthy in a negative way. And so I look at myself as just another human being, but apparently that's a really bad thing here. So that shocks me that there is such anger toward people that are trying to do some good in this country.
Emma?
Yeah, I wish that I could fix everything for everybody. I just think it's very upsetting when people hate people who are building businesses, hiring people, creating jobs, and make wild assumptions, as Alex just did. I wouldn't make assumptions about him sitting in a wheelchair without a job, which I'm really sorry to hear it. The last kind of element of his, felt like a little bit of a rant, actually. So don't make assumptions about me. And it's so British, and it's so
But then you find out the statistic. Of the 3.06 million people that might be millionaires, 88 to 94% is self-made. So in other words, 12% or maybe 6% inherited the money. And you focus on such a small percentage, like a 10%, to say, all the other 90%, you got to pay up. That's not fair. And I know being disabled is not fair, but the way people see things to justify that the government need to put their hand in my honeypot or anybody else, that's kind of unfair.
If there were a general election tomorrow, who would you vote for? Richard?
It's not Jeremy Corbyn's new party. I don't think it can be Labour. I met Nigel Farage the other day. I thought he was quite impressive, but I can't agree with all their policies. I don't. And I said to him, I think you're okay, but I'm a bit worried about the people underneath you. That's why he wants to bring in a panel of experts, because I think it would have to be reformed, but that's by a process of elimination, because the Tories have messed up so much. So I'm not sure. It'd have to be reform.
Anne?
I don't know. Who's the party in Italy?
Okay, answer given. Emma?
I'm sharing half of Richard's wealth with you, so I'm going to
Okay, we're
also
fine.
be
We just
overseas.
walk out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going elsewhere.
Yeah.
I can understand you're disabled and not very happy in that situation, and you believe millionaires can help you by funding all the things that you need. The problem is this. You're pointing finger at people that maybe have made the money by themselves, at least these three. And of these three, one is thinking about it and the other one thinks it's so unfair they're just gonna leave. In a way, it's like you're telling them, you know what, we're gonna make abortion illegal. And they're like, well, I'll just go to a new country where it's legal. That's it.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde, kush, hash, purple, skunk, criollo, colombici, jam, jam, turloqueta, verdeta, welcome.